Michael, tell us a little bit about your background as a candidate for this position.
Sure. Well, I'm 38 years old. I live in the city of Strongsville. I grew up in Solon. I graduated class of '89. I went to Miami University and then went to Cleveland Marshall College of Law. I've been a licensed attorney for 13 years, and I split my practice between the general division and the juvenile divisions of the Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas. I've tried everything from traffic tickets all the way up to murder cases. I'm also a licensed financial advisor, and I classify myself too as a small business owner. I've owned my law practice since the day I passed the bar exam. And that's a lot of things a lot of attorneys forget, that if they run a practice, they're a business owner. And you have to be attentive to managing, to budgeting, to scheduling, to everything that's important to running a business. And you know what I tell people is that that's the real world experience that a lot of people that are in politics these days are missing. A lot of these people have never run a business. They've never had to meet a payroll. They've never worked a job because they're always doing, not that politics isn't a job, but a business type job where you have to do things that business people do in order to get the job done. In my interview with the plain dealer with my opponent, she kept talking about committees and how she's on this committee and that committee, and how they talk about this and that. And I'm sitting there thinking, that's why nothing ever gets done in Cuyahoga County, because you're always in committee meetings. Instead of, I want to get wireless internet inside the Justice Center. It doesn't have it. They're technologically backwards, and they've had committee meetings about it. My whole thing is call the vendor, get a quote, call a few vendors, get several quotes, pick the best one, and get the internet installed, instead of having committee meeting after committee meeting. And that's the kind of type of experience I think is missing from that court, that I really want to bring out there and say, hey, let's sit down, let's work as a body, and let's make some changes to this building to help make it better.
Michael, tell us a little bit about some of the issues as you see them in this campaign and what you might be able to do as an elected judge.
Some of the smaller items, the way they schedule their cases downtown. Right now, if you go to the Justice Center at 9:15 in the morning, sometimes you'll have a line that stretches across the building into the jail, because everybody schedules 34 courtrooms in the Court of Common Pleas, and I believe there's 15 in the municipal court. They schedule everything for 9 o'clock. And I always tell people, find me a successful business person that schedules all their appointments for 9 o'clock in the morning. They're not going to be too successful for too long, because it creates a backlog, it creates inefficiencies. You have people getting stuck in the lines downstairs. It can take 15, 20 minutes to get upstairs. On a bad day, sometimes even longer. And what I want to do is stagger the start times for hearings. 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock. So that way you're not, and if one person can't do it, all the judges have to start doing that, because one courtroom is not going to make a big difference. But if all the judges start staggering their hearings, I think it'll make a difference. You go there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the place is empty. It's a tomb. I want to use my afternoon for hearings. I want to be able to have sentencing hearings or motion hearings on major important cases in the afternoon, so I actually have time to know who the person is who's in front of my bench. For example, on a sentencing hearing, I consider that to be very, very important to a judge. You can't just sit there, read the pre-sentence report, and then go on the bench 30 seconds later, and then issue a sentence and leave. That doesn't cut it for me. You need to get to know who the defendant is. You need to have time to talk to that person. A lot of times victims aren't brought in. A lot of times there's not even a prosecutor in the courtroom, which I find ridiculous. On a major case, I think there always needs to be a prosecutor there. And I think the victims need to be there, the probation officer, so I can get an idea of who the person is who's standing in front of my bench, because I want to create a sentence and put a sentence forth that's going to punish the offender, but also attempt to down the road rehabilitate that offender. And the way people say, oh, you're going to be tough on crime. You could train a chipmunk to be tough on crime. All they have to do is sit there and press the maximum sentence button every time someone comes before them. Right. And that's ridiculous. You have to use what I call smart justice. For example, a drug user. A first-time offender, second-time offender drug user, they need treatment. Because what happens is if they don't get the treatment, they go to prison, they come back out, they don't get the tools they need, they start using, they get arrested, and it creates a circle. I want somebody in front of me, I want to get them treatment, and hopefully get them on the road to getting a job, getting a GED if they need it, getting them to start paying their child support. If they fail to do that and they come back in front of me, then they're going to get hit, and they're going to go to prison, and it's not going to be for the minimum, because they've disrespected me and they disrespected the citizens of Cuyahoga County. But I'm willing to give people a chance if they're willing to take that chance and work with it. If they refuse to do so, then there are other places they can stay. There are some judges who, I call it the go forth and sin no more. Okay, you're on community control for 2 years. Don't take any drugs. Don't commit any more crimes. And they let them walk out the door. What does that tell people? It tells them nothing. It says all I have to do is know when I'm getting drug tested, and stay clean or use something to clean my system out so when I go in to see my officer, I'll be clean. If you sit in front of somebody and tell them, look, you're going to get a GED, you're going to get a job, you're going to work, you're going to pay your child support, and you're obviously not going to use any drugs, you're going to get treatment. Or in the case of a domestic violence offense or a violent offender, we're going to get you anger management if perhaps that would help you out. And it's going to be one-on-one team type counseling, peer group. It's not going to be some internet program where they push a button and they follow or pretend to read what's on the screen. I want to get a report from the person who's doing the group saying Mr. Jones has completed it. He's shown great progress. I think that he's a good candidate to wrap things up with the court.
And Michael, lastly, I'd like to find out about what you feel that you bring to this position that makes you an electable person.
Okay. 3 words, honesty, actually more than 3 words, but 3 concepts: honesty, integrity, and real world experience. I've already discussed the real world experience, my business background, the fact that I have trial experience, ranging all the way up to handling some murder matters. The honesty and integrity are very, very important right now in Cuyahoga County. In my 13 years as an attorney and my 3 years as a financial advisor, I've never received a complaint from any client or from any securities regulation board. I form great relationships with my clients. They trust me. They know that I'm going to do a good job for them, and if they know what to expect when it comes to court. And the main reason that I'm running for this race is the current person on the bench. Her name is Bridget McCafferty. And it's not something normal in politics to talk about your opponent. But in this case, I think it's absolutely necessary that I bring her name out. For those of your viewers who don't know, she was arrested on Wednesday, September 15th by the federal government and charged with lying to law enforcement, specifically the FBI. They're making allegations that she lied about several discussions she had with individuals connected to Frank Russo and Jimmy DeMora, or actually in one case, Frank Russo himself. And right now, the governor of the state of Ohio, one of the candidates for county executive, as well as the Cuyahoga County Democrat Party. Well, the Cuyahoga County Democrat Party has removed her from their slate card of endorsed candidates. The governor and Ed Fitzgerald is the candidate, have asked for her resignation, and she refuses to resign. She refuses to step away. And the way I see it is, look, one of the basic tenets, and obviously running for judge, I should know this, one of the basic tenets of American law is you're innocent until proven guilty. She made a very long speech in front of the federal courthouse the other day where she claimed that she was innocent, and this was a shock to her, and that this would somehow make her a better judge for going through the experience. That's fine. What you need to do, though, is step away from the bench, take care of your business. If you're exonerated, like you say you're going to be, run for re-election. And I'm sure you'll be elected in a landslide because people will see that you were exonerated, the charges were incorrect, and they'll re-elect you to the bench. But right now, she's a distraction to the 34 judges. Actually, we're down to 32 judges now. She's a distraction to the judges that are on the bench, the vast majority of whom are very good people, very good judges who do a great job, but for the past 2 years have been operating under a cloud of suspicion. And so I want to bring honesty and integrity to show the people that there are people in Cuyahoga County who care about the people of Cuyahoga County, not themselves. And that's, I think, there's a lot of apathy amongst the voting public where they see this corruption. There was only, 17% turnout, I believe, for the last, for the primary just a few days ago. Yeah. And that's telling me that people are tired and people are sick of what's going on. And that's translating into a lack of people coming out to the ballot boxes. And I want people to come out, and I want them, when they vote, to be educated about who they're voting for. I want them to go check me out before they go vote for me. Same as for my opponent. Please check out my opponent. Don't vote for her because her last name is of a certain ethnic persuasion, which is unfortunately what's been going on in Cuyahoga County for years. There are certain names that are called ballot gold, where if you have them, you're guaranteed to get elected. And it doesn't matter what your qualifications are. It just matters that you're of a certain political party, that you have a certain last name, and you're pretty much guaranteed an elected office in Cuyahoga County. And I think with the passage of Issue 6 last year, I think the citizens finally stepped up and said, enough. We're not going to take this anymore. We're not going to tolerate this behavior. And I personally got tired of talking about it. And I wanted to step in and start walking and start saying, hey, I want to make a difference. I want to run for judge because I believe I can do a great job. I believe I'm qualified. And I believe that the citizens deserve a lot better than what they're getting right now.